Yo, welcome to REXTECH, where we spread the good news of the cloud. Today, I am excited. Why? It's because you get to evolve. You get to see yourself evolve. We are going to go back to the foundations, back to the fundamentals, what you've already learned. And today, we're about to apply something different on top of that. Do you remember the project that we did the first week of the 30 Days DevOps Challenge? If you haven't, stop this video right here, check it out up there, and go and actually create the project, go and deploy it, go through it, because today we are going to redo that same project. Because last time we used the process of click ops. We went into the management console and we clicked, and we created that project. But today we are about to automate that. We are going to automate the deployment of those resources of that infrastructure using infrastructure as code, a specific tool called Terraform. Now, when I filmed that last video, it was about 15 minutes if you are following along with me, right? Using ClickOps. Now today, we are going to use Terraform and I'm going to show you how we're going to do it in less than 20 seconds. Crazy, right? Come with me, man. I'm telling you, this is going to be super cool. If you didn't watch the last project, please stop right there. Go and do that project, deploy it, use ClickOps because it's going to help you understand what I'm doing. And then you're going to come back and you're going to use Terraform with me. I'm about to deploy it in freaking 20 seconds. So follow your boy. So check it out. This is my local system. This is my local environment. I am using Visual Studio Code. I have my terminal here. As you can see, I'm excited. I'm talking loud because this is going to be so sick, right? Now, let's go back and look at our diagram, our architectural diagram. Now, this is our game day notifications Terraform Git repo. All right, if I scroll down, does this look familiar? Yes, because this is exactly the same project we did in week 1 of the 30-day DevOps challenge. So what we have here is we have an event rule, right? Event bridge is basically scheduling a rule that's going to run every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, it is going to trigger this Lambda function. This Lambda function using Python, it is going to request information from this external API, right? So game day information, whatever. And it's going to respond back, right, to the Lambda function, but it's going to respond back in a JSON format, right? The Lambda function is going to convert that JSON object and it's going to make it into a user readable form so we can read the different games, the teams that are playing each other and the points in a way that is formatted that we can actually read it with sense. Then we're going to send that information to SNS topic. And then we're going to have our email or SMS that's going to be subscribed to this SNS topic. So once the data is pushed to this specific topic, it is also going to be directly and automatically pushed to whatever is subscribed to it, which is going to be our email. So we've already gone through this. We know what this is. So let's just get into the project. First things first, we're going to have to clone the repo. So I'm going to copy this, clone repo. Let's go here, git clone, paste, enter, clone, blah, 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 clear. I'm going to type ls. And we see the game day notifications underscore Terraform, right? That's the folder. That is the directory which we just cloned. I'm going to go into it, right? I'm going to navigate into the game day, clear my screen again and type ls. And ls is going to show us the files that is inside this directory. So we have the game day notifications underscore TF. What is TF? That is the Terraform configuration file. This is the file that is going to be where all the code, where all the configuration is in there, where our infrastructure is going to be defined as code inside this file, and it's going to be responsible for automatically deploying our infrastructure, our resources for us. Now we have this NBA notifications.py, which is a Python file, and we also have this NBA notifications.zip. Why do we have the same name? Well, for Terraform to deploy our Lambda function has to be in a zip file. It has to be zipped up, right? The reason why I kept this here is so we can open it up and I can go through the code just so you can see it. Not much has changed from the previous project, but one thing has changed. So I left it open so I can open it up for you and I don't have to unzip this file, all right? So I'm going to open the relevant files, which is going to be the Python file and the Terraform file, right? Open that up. Boom, boom, boom. Right. So first things first, let's look at the instructions. What does it say? We scroll down. The first thing it says is that we need to run AWS CLI command with your API key to store it in parameter store. So last time we stored our API key as an environment variable in our Lambda environment, right? So now for this project, we're going to be a little bit more secure. I'm going to store it in parameter store. This says story, what the heck? But we're going to continue. So this is the command here that we're going to actually use using the AWS CLI to create that API key and store it as a secure string in parameter story. Store is supposed to be. But let's go and do that right now, okay? So I don't know if I copied it. I'm going to copy it here. And we're going to go here and I'm going to paste it. And we want to change the value, the API key value here. We want to change that and make this bigger so y'all can see. We want to change that there to our actual API. Now I'm going to paste it here. I know for you people, who cares if you see this, because I'm going to actually delete my account and recreate a new one. So it doesn't matter if you see this API. It doesn't really matter, right? It's just for demo purposes. So with that, I am going to click enter. All right, so we have now created a secure string in parameter store. All right, that's the first thing we did. So we've taken care of that. Now let's go to NBA notifications py. This is the Python file. Listen, nothing here changes. It's the same thing. It's doing the exact same thing, but we changed one thing. What did we change? Where is it? Right here. When we're getting when we're actually getting the environment variable for API key, instead of us trying to get it from the environment itself, like we did here, the OS get environment SNS topic ARN, right, from our local Lambda environment, what we're doing is we are calling this get secret function. This get secret function is right here, and we're using parameter store, which is part of systems manager, and we're getting that API key with the name NBA API key, blah, 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 and we're getting the value. Okay, so this is what we're getting, and we're storing it in API key. That is how we're accessing our API key, and we're storing it inside here, right? So that's literally the only thing we changed in our Lambda function. Okay, so now let's clear the screen, and now we are going to go to the Terraform file. Okay, Terraform file. Terraform file, Terraform file. So what is actually happening here? Okay, so we actually have one Terraform file that is going to deploy everything. This is not the best way to do things, but just for simplicity, I just fit everything inside one file. Okay, so you have been going through Terraform videos this week for this week's 30-day DevOps challenge. So there's a lot of this stuff I am actually going to breeze over. But what is happening here is we have our provider basically saying, hey, Terraform, we want to use AWS because we're interacting with AWS. And we want to use the region US East 1. Okay, we can change this as needed. If you want to use a different region, do whatever you want. Now, we're actually creating our SNS topic. The resource AWS SNS topic, and we're naming it NBA Game Alerts. And the name is NBA Game Alerts, right? Whatever. And now the IAM role, remember we had to create IAM roles. Remember we did it manually, but now we're going to automate that. We have to create a role to give Lambda the permissions to be able to interact with different services with the SNS topic, right? So this is the role here that we're creating. This role will be attached to Lambda functions. And we're going to have different policies that will be part of this role. Later on, we'll talk about that. But this role would allow us to interact with SNS. It'll also allow us to send some logging to CloudWatch. And then it'll also allow us to interact with Systems Manager parameter store to get that secret, the API key. So first thing we do is we create the role itself, okay? Then we have to create the policies, right? This is the IAM policy for us to be able to, publish to SNS, okay? So we create the IAM policy and we call it SNS publish policy. We create the name, we describe it, and then this is the actual policy here. Things allow us to put direct strings, like literal strings, and it will interpret it as exact strings, right? So this is a JSON format, and that's how it's going to read it. And right here, what we're doing is, hey, for the resource, we're saying the SNS topic ARN. How are we getting the SNS topic ARN? Well, we're just calling the resource, the name of the resource, and getting the ARN from this SNS topic up here, which we created, right? So in Terraform, you can reference other resources which you've created, okay, in the file itself. So that's what we're doing. We create that policy for Lambda to publish to SNS, and then we scroll down. Now, even though we create the policy, we also have to attach the policy to the role. So that's what we're doing here. Attach IAM policy for Lambda to publish to SNS to the IAM role. So we do this, we attach the SNS, and what we're doing is the role is AWS IAM role. We named it Lambda role, right? And the policy is the SNS publish policy ARN, which is this, right? SNS publish policy, and we're getting the ARN from it. Now, here, data. What does this mean? This data, what we're doing here is we're actually getting the ID, the account ID of the person who actually executes this Terraform configuration. Why do we need that? Well, because we don't want to put our ID inside this Terraform file, right? When we create this policy over here for us to be able to read from parameter store, it's asking for the resource, right? And we have to put our actual AWS account ID, right? And we don't want to type that inside here. So what we do is we use the data and we get the caller identity and we get the current and we get the account ID from that, right? So we are dynamically getting this information. We are not necessarily hard coding our account ID in here, right? So the resource would be the NBA key that's inside our parameter store. Okay, so we create that policy and then we have to attach that policy to the role again. So we have this, we're attaching the IAM policy to read from parameter store to IAM role, Lambda role, we're attaching it to that role, and we're using this policy we just created over here called SMS policy, SMS policy. Now, we also need to create an IAM policy for CloudWatch logs. We want to send logs to Lambda so we can do some testing and investigations to see if we have any errors. We go to CloudWatch and we can monitor and figure out like what the heck actually happened. So we need access to send or publish logs to CloudWatch. So this is the policy here, all right? We're creating that policy and then we have to attach that policy to the role again. So that's what we're doing. It's literally the same thing. We're just copying and pasting. We're just changing the actual name of the policy. So Lambda logging, Lambda logging. Now, let's get to the meat of what we actually need to do. Now, this is the Lambda function itself, right? The Lambda function, we're naming it NBA Lambda. Now, the file name, as you can see, is a zip file, pre-packaged zip, NBA notification zip file, all right? Because that's the only way you can actually read this. It has to be a zip file. The function name, we're naming it NBA game alerts, right? Now for the role, we're using the Lambda role, which we just created earlier. Now the handler, this is very important. The handler has to be a specific order, right? The name of the actual Python Lambda file is called NBA notifications dot the Lambda handler, right? Oh shoot, I just changed something. Let me go back. And then the function which is first executed in our Lambda function is called Lambda handler. If you go back up here, we see it is called Lambda handler. All right. So this is how we have to put this together in the handler, right? It has to be like that. And then we have Python runtime 3.8, whatever you want to do it. And then we have the environment variables. Okay. So this is how we're doing it. We are passing the variable to the SNS topic ARN. All right, we're creating this variable that's inside the Lambda environment. And what we're doing is we're not hard coding the SNS ARN inside the Terraform code. We are actually referencing it from the resource that we just deployed with SNS topic, NBA game alerts, and the ARN, right? So this is the same as up here when we created the, where is it? Where is the SNS? No, where is it? MDA game alerts, right? This is the same SNS topic that we're referencing all the way down here. All right, now we get to Event Bridge. All right, so now we have to actually create a resource for Event Bridge. So we have CloudWatch event rule. So if you don't know, CloudWatch and Event Bridge, basically the same service, but Event Bridge is the newer name. It changed the name and now it's a separate service in itself, but it still uses CloudWatch underneath, right? So NBA schedule. That's what we're naming this CloudWatch rule, right? The name is alert schedule and we're saying rate 2 hours. So what we're doing is every 2 hours, this is going to trigger the Lambda function, right? And it's going to send us, well, if it does it correctly, it's going to do everything it needs to do. And then it's going to send us an email at the end of that 2 hours, right? So we can adjust this as needed, 3 hours, whatever you want. And then we have the target, right? So the Event Bridge target, the rule has to target a specific thing. What are we targeting? Well, a Lambda function. What is that Lambda function? NBA lambda.arn. So we're getting the Amazon resource name from our Lambda function we previously created in this same file. Okay, now we also have to grant permissions to invoke the Lambda, right? Event Bridge has to have permissions to invoke it. So we're using AWS Lambda permissions and we're saying allow Event Bridge and blah, 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 all of this. So that's what we're doing here, right? So all this stuff can easily be understood from using the Terraform registry. Terraform registry. That is a name you're always going to want to hear and adhere to or understand, right? So that's where I get all this stuff from. So this is our Terraform file, and this alone is going to deploy our entire infrastructure in less than 15 seconds. So first thing we're going to do is we have to initialize our workspace, our Terraform working directory. So this directory here, we have to initialize it. So if we go to our instructions, if we go here, what does it say? First thing we have to do is run Terraform init, right? We need to initialize the Terraform directory and provider plugins and set up the local backend. So we're gonna paste that here and we're gonna init. Hopefully it shows green. All right, so we're good, right? Terraform has successfully been initialized. All right, next thing we're gonna do is format. Format, this basically just, I'm gonna click enter, let's hope this works, nothing happened. So what does format do? All it does is just, it formats the Terraform code itself, right? It adds, it makes it more user-friendly for you to be able to read. It makes it clean, more readable, and it follows best practices, right? Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna run Terraform validate, all right? We're checking for syntax errors and making sure everything is correct with the code that we wrote. So run validate. Let's see if there's any issues. Let's see how long this is gonna take. This is my first time running it. Success, the configuration has been valid. All right, so I'm actually gonna clear my screen. And now what I wanna do is run Terraform plan. And this is gonna show us a preview of the change that's going to be made if Terraform executes. All right, so if you see here, we see all the stuff is gonna be created. You can go through this one by one to actually see what exactly is happening. But there's a plus sign, means it's going to deploy these new stuff. Plus, plus, plus. If there's a minus, that means it's going to destroy or delete. Okay, so plan. All right, let's clear this. Now we're going to run Terraform apply. I don't know why I'm copying this. I can just type it, but let's just do that, right? Terraform apply. And it's going to go to the same thing. It's going to show us a plan again, but it's going to ask me enter a value, which is yes. I'm going to type yes, right? So it says only yes will be accepted to approve. Click enter. So now it's deploying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm counting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It says 10 seconds have elapsed. Ooh, that was 15 seconds. We literally just deployed our entire infrastructure, which took us 15 minutes to do with ClickOps. We did it in 15 seconds just by clicking enter. Just by clicking one keystroke, which is freaking insane. So apply, complete, resources, 12 added, blah, blah, blah. So let's go and check it out. Let's go and test this thing out. Let me reload this. All right, so we have, I think it's called, let's go modified, and within the last, this is 32 seconds, right? So it's this, NBA game alerts. Okay, let's see if this is working. Let's see if it's working. Let's see if it's doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, we have NBA game alerts. We have event bridge that is going to be triggering this Lambda function. We have the Lambda function here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So what do you want to do? Well, let's test this out. Let's test this out. Well, before we can test it, remember we still have to, so we have to subscribe our email to the SNS topic we just created. So let's go to SNS. Right? Can't really automate that, right? Let's go to our topics. We're going to go to the NBA game alerts. And now we have to create a subscription. Okay? And we're going to say email. And we're going to put email address. We're going to say create subscription. Now, if I go to Gmail, I go to here, we see that. We're going to say confirm, subscription, confirmed. All right? So we just gave ourselves permissions to be able to do this. Okay, so now let's go back to Lambda. Let's go back to Lambda and we're going to test this out. Alerts, and we are going to go to test. Test, test, test. And we're going to say event name. Let's just name this test 1. All right, then we're going to say test. Let's run it. Ooh, okay, data processed and sent to SNS. Seems like it's working. We have a status code of 200. Let's check it. Let's go to my email. Boom! Let's freaking go! That's what I'll talk about. So today we got Dallas versus Boston. Yo, I don't know if you guys know if you're in Dallas. I'm in Dallas, so they just ripped our heart out by trading your boy to the Lakers. But I'm a LeBron fan, so I'm good all the way, right? LeBron got some help, but Dallas is playing Boston today. Houston, Minnesota, this is in progress. This is the points. Okay, Dallas is winning. Dallas is beating Boston without Luka? What the freak is going on? Anyway, back, back to this. So this thing is working. It's working. If you go to EventBridge, right? Let's just check this out. Let's go to EventBridge. EventBridge. And let's go to rules, right? Oh, we have this rule here. Oh, fixed rate 2 hours. So every 2 hours, this is going to trigger. If I edit it, right? 2 hours, blah, blah, blah. It's going to trigger this thing, right? So that is it. That is our project. Now check this out. This is another insane thing. This is another insane thing. Remember when we had to go through one by one to delete our resources? Well, guess what? Terraform has a command where, let me clear my screen, where you can just run Terraform destroy. I'm gonna go back to over here. I'm gonna go to the instructions. I'm gonna show you this. So you can remove all resources defined by your Terraform configuration by running Terraform destroy. So if I run Terraform destroy, I'm gonna click enter. It's gonna ask me again to type yes, because it's gonna say, hey, these are all the resources that I will be destroying. Yeah, so see how now it's a negative. Negative means it's going to destroy all that stuff. I'm gonna say yes, destroy. Look at that, in less than 5 seconds. How much seconds? This says 1 second. 1 second? 1 second passed and it destroyed everything. So if I go back here and I go to EventBridge and I reload this, if I go to rules, no rules. You see that? If I go to Lambda, look for my Lambda and I look for something that was recently deployed, you see the last thing that was deployed was 2 months ago because that Lambda function has been destroyed. If I go to SNS, if I go to SNS and I go to topics, it's not here, right? It's not here. So everything has been destroyed just by running that one command. This is infrastructure as code. This is automation. This is powerful. Okay? If you know how to do this, trust me, you'll be so freaking valuable in the workforce. Man, it's crazy. So that's the end of the video. I'm gonna see y'all later.